back to another episode of the Caffeinated Librarians. We're missing some of our family here today, but that's just because they can't handle the intensity of today's conversation.
And they're slackers and they're lazy.
It was only like an hour and like 20-minute movie.
It was like an hour. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was 81
I have
minutes.
it here on my computer.
I gotta say, I applaud a good old-fashioned 80-minute running time.
He got a lot of stuff in there in 80 minutes.
He is a good one. So, if you guys don't know what we're talking about today, because
no one's told them yet, so
that's right.
Well,
and you haven't read the thumbnail. Today we're going to be talking about a anime film from 1997 called Perfect Blue. It is considered one of this director's best movies, if not probably his best movie. It was his debut film, Satoshi Kon. You've probably heard us talk about, or at least me mention this movie a couple times on the podcast.
You've also mentioned Paprika. We've mentioned Tokyo Godfathers. We mentioned a couple of his other ones.
Yeah.
Millennium Actress, and then his one-time anime show, Paranoia Agent, which is also another personal favorite of mine. But going down into it, since I said this is a personal favorite of mine, I do enjoy watching this movie from time to time. Like every year I try to reacquaint myself and submerge myself back into the horror and greatness that is Perfect Blue. But I know that this is actually your first time.
It is my first time watching it as well.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Simone, was it your first time?
No, I've seen this about 2 or 3 times.
There we go. So we know about it. So this film...
I know everything I need to know after watching it once.
So does that mean you wouldn't give it a second watch?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. So for those of you who don't know and have not watched Perfect...
Wait, Lou's taken the Pauline Kael approach to film criticism, and I gotta applaud that. Ballsy.
That's all I need to see.
I want to save my opinion so you guys get I want to see your natural reactions again to my opinion of the film.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I really want to know your opinion. I honestly want to know your two's opinions since, I think
That's
you
why
guys
we're
are
here.
more movie kind of inclined. I'm just one of those people who just kind of looks at him like, well, that's okay. I try to get deeper into a messaging thing. I try to put messages in things that don't belong, but
One thing I'm confident about in movies is that nothing is done unintentionally.
yes, no.
Everything is done with purpose.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because honestly, there are moments.
I mean, obviously, if you're filming scenes on a street or something like that, and there's a color of a house, I'm not saying that they're like,
But-
we got to make sure that this house is blue.
Even then, they're aware of what's in frame.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
So, jumping right into it, Perfect Blue is a 1997 film and is the first of many films by the famous creator Satoshi Kon.
Not that many, though.
Yeah,
Not
only
that
4,
many,
right?
Poor
but he
dude
has
died
worked
young.
on things on the side, but not as a director.
And it was supposed to be a live action movie originally, but there was an earthquake, which
Yes, and
destroyed the studio. I later found out
So the story of Perfect Blue follows the story
because I had to Google "Perfect Blue" explained. I just wanted to make sure.
You didn't watch the video I sent you?
I just wanted to make sure I
Where's it
understood.
coming from?
I wanted to make sure I had a full background. So I did watch the video, but I had done quite a bit of research because it's a genre I'm not really familiar with. So I had done a good amount of research, and I by the time I saw your video, I had already known about
There you
the
go.
creepiness of the idols and all that stuff, and
Good.
their weird obsessions and all that
It's
stuff.
not their obsessions. It's their
the
fans'
fans.
obsessions.
I mean, when I say
Yes.
there, I meant
Yes.
culturally.
Yes. So the story of Perfect Blue is that it follows an idol named Mima who's decided to give up her singing and dancing career to graduate and go into acting. Unfortunately, this dream ends up coming at a cost, which is her very identity, as she deals with the changes in her lifestyle, stalkers, and an online copycat. She slowly descends into madness as she struggles with trying to tell apart what is real and what is fantasy.
I wouldn't say slowly.
Yeah.
Not slowly, to be
This
fair.
movie starts at about an 8.
I always say slowly in the sense of what maybe time is for
Yeah.
her versus our seeing an hour and 20 minute of maybe what's a year in her life.
And I will say, I know you're going to get into a little bit of the idols and everything like that. One of the first things, so I actually watched the movie before I did the research.
Good. That's how I kind of want you to do. I don't want you to know. Usually when I say
I'm
like
do
watch
it the opposite
it,
way because I don't want to do what you want me to do. But the thing that stood out to me originally
What a rebel.
was if Mima is such a popular pop star, why is she living in such a crappy apartment?
Really not popular.
Exactly.
That's the
Like,
point, is
so
that she's
but-
part
but
of a
that's
famous
what I'm saying,
group,
like,
but she's not the most popular member
But no,
of
as a
what
they're
you
not
see.
even that famous. They never even got a single on the charts.
Well,
Yeah.
to be fair,
They're like
and-
local idols.
Yeah.
I can't talk about Japanese idols, but I know something about Korean idols. And believe it or not, even those in the more popular groups, like if you take BTS, for example, because it's one of the groups that I follow, and
Now that
Lou's
they've
already...
decided to
I
take a
rolled my
hiatus.
eyes.
Lou is... He's given me that look. But when they started out, first of all, they came from a very small company at the time. Big Hit Entertainment was not one of the top companies. They were very small. And they all lived in this dorm, like they were on bunk beds. But even after you get a certain amount of popularity, first of all, most idols don't see all the profits and revenues don't necessarily go to the idols.
So that's the point I was going to make.
Yeah,
Really, was,
even if you are
Portion
very
goes, not always.
successful, you may still end up living in like a dorm situation.
Yeah.
So Mima's situation could be very much
So
like,
the thing with Mima, I don't know much about the Korean idol industry, but I do know about the Japanese idol industry because I do have
the Japanese idol industry is the only one that I researched.
So this is the one that will probably be predominantly, you could compare essentially for those watching this and they don't understand what idols are. They're essentially what we would think of like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. They're the boy bands of, but a bit darker and a lot more controlled.
It's almost like they're and don't kill me here, Mouse. It's almost like the Disney control over the
it's like
young
just
Disney
the
stars.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's
controlling.
more the vibe. That's the closest American comparison that I could really come up with.
So in Japan, there are different kinds of idols. There are regional idols, which means every city or town has their own idols where they get a lot of community support and stuff like that. They kind of just bring happiness to the community, and they also sing and also are a part of advertisements to get people to come and visit. They're good for tourist attractions. And then you have small-time independent idols, which are small idol groups that you only see in underground nightclubs and stuff like that, which usually have a manager, but they're not part of a big company, so they rely on independent merch sales as t-shirts, buttons. But what's different from US and other idols is how close these idols, these girls and boys, mainly women though, get close with their fans. Basically what you're selling to people is a character. You're selling a character. You're selling a relationship. Yeah. And what starts off being kind of nice, let's say you're a first timer, they have meet and greets where you pay for a certain amount of time to shake the hands and have a conversation with an idol. And these idols are expected to remember the faces. That's why when the video I showed you, there was a good example of the girl going, "Oh, did you cut your hair?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did." They're supposed to remember these people, especially the people who have been fans for go to every show, have the light sticks, have the shirts, have their hype squad up there. They are selling a personality to these people, a character. And so it's not who they might really be, but they're selling a lot more than I would say Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were doing.
Of
yes,
course.
we have dolls of them and posters and God forbid Lance. Ooh. But
what's wrong with Lance?
I love Lance. He was my favorite. I loved him.
I thought that was a dig at him at first.
No,
Yeah,
I love
you did
Lance.
too, right?
No, I was just ooh, I love him. But that might not be who he really is in real life. So, and it's not.
Is that what,
Yeah.
that's what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
I just thought of a great double feature for this.
Oh.
So a close approximation to an American Idol group, the Monkees.
Oh, yes.
They were manufactured for a TV show. The guys didn't really know each other. They were just kind of put together based on looks.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they got very sick and tired of it. And they made a movie called Head that is absolutely deranged. They're like showing footage from Vietnam and like talking about how like they're just manufactured tools of capitalism, and it's one of the nuttiest things I've seen. But yeah, no, awesome movie, and it sort of shows like what happens when you play this character for too long and you're just broken by it.
You can be very broken, as we see with Mima here in this show, especially after she finds out that the group that she leaves is actually doing way better without her. But a lot of these idols also, since their lives are very controlled, they have to act a certain way. They can't have,
Or they can't date.
They have to, they can date. It's different now. They can date, but it has to be approved of who you're dating, because they want to sell you, because in Japan, unlike ours, which we base ours on sex appeal.
They're selling purity.
Yeah, in the US we sell sex appeal, but in Japan they want to sell purity. They want a role model for younger children. They want someone who a family can watch.
That's not the vibe I got.
That's not the vibe you usually would get, but in Japan it is one thing that they do. Purity is one thing, and that can be taken in many different ways, but they do want role models. They want people to enter the industry. They want them to look pretty. They want to sell you an image. They want to sell you children. They want something to be family oriented too. Songs are family oriented. That's fine. All the songs, if you read the lyrics to them, nothing inherently wrong. It's just innocent little like high school love lyrics. But you have children who want to go see these concerts, and so they try to actively make outfits that aren't incredibly sexualized, or in their minds not that way. They want them to be cute. They want them to be have their personalities represented in their outfits. Everything about them is an image projected that isn't real. So this is where we kind of get out of hand when it comes to Perfect Blue and The Stalker.
I was going to say, so with all that being said, now that we understand idols, let's get into the movie.
Yeah, what are our general thoughts to start us off?
Yes, I would love to hear from the people who didn't. Everyone knows I love this movie, but having fresh impressions. I get so excited.
I mean, I'll go first, if you guys want me to go first. I think I just must be a person that doesn't like anime, is what I would have said a week ago.
Boom!
Goes the dynamite.
I promised you a good anime film.
Yeah, I was really kind of floored by it. A couple of initial thoughts.
Yes.
I knew from the beginning that it was Roomie messing around. Are you supposed to know? Because
Roomie?
Yeah. Okay.
Roomie's her manager. Roomie
No.
is the person
Yeah. I know
yeah.
who she is. I watched the movie, but I knew it was her that was messing with her.
Partially, yes.
Yeah. That seemed a little too obvious to me. It was a very Selena vibe, like the manager that turns on her because she's.
Well, it's hard because for managers, she's basically on a lower level. She can be replaced at any time. Roomie is in charge of Mima's life. She's in charge of her career. So sorry.
Are you justifying her?
I'm not justifying her, but understanding her career and what her job is. Yeah. It can be really hard when she also projected an image of Mima. We're seeing basically the movie is filmed in a way where we're not seeing Mima through Mima's eyes. We're seeing Mima through somebody else constantly. And the only times we see Mima in her real life is when she's maybe in her bedroom. Yeah, no, but even then, the beginning, there's a guy shouting.
I thought the bedroom stuff was very Hitchcock style.
That's what he wants you to see. He wants you to see the mundane.
All of it was very voyeuristic, I felt like, and intentionally so.
It makes it feel real.
Not even that, but just it makes you feel like you're leering. And it's an uncomfortable feeling.
There's the famous scene where you see...
peeking into something I shouldn't see.
Yeah.
You see the first scene of the guy with the hand, and you see her framed just in his hand. And it's that instance of the first 10 seconds of the film, you already know how this is kind of already being looked at.
And I think also with Roomie, especially with the managers, and it's the same thing in K-pop. Essentially, the manager is very much the title, they manage. They are also held responsible if their idols go, quote, out of hand, out of line.
Their
if they
careers take a dip.
if they in any way shame the image of the company. So Roomie, in many respects, could be considered a victim of the very industry that she's also a part of. Yeah, it doesn't justify what she does, but I think it also shows the mental toll that these expectations can put
Well,
on
they get
someone.
very intimate with their
Yeah.
clients as well.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have keys to their house.
Yeah.
They know everybody's phone number. They know all their they know all the secrets.
Yeah, and going back like with the whole industry, which is what this film is also about, is that these people are merely products to be pushed out, discarded when they no longer serve their purpose. And going back to Mima, like her whole thing about, for a lot of people, the idol group may be the stepping stone to something else. Like there are a lot of idols even in Korea where they start off in a group, but they transition to acting.
Yep, it's called graduating. They never
So-
just quit. They graduate
Yeah.
to do things bigger and better.
And
And a
you
lot of
s-
idols do tend to go into morning TV shows,
Yeah.
small roles, movies, depending on
Yeah.
popularity status.
And you can see how, because like I read a lot of the comments, because this whole thing is about also fan culture. It's a very big part of what this movie is about, and the gaze of the fan or like the extreme fan. And even in Korea, if idols do something perceived as being like ungrateful toward their fan, like there's something called seisang fans. I don't know what the Japanese term would be, but these are antis. They basically stalk the members they despise, because even in groups there are some people that stan one member but they wouldn't care less about the other members. Like there was this one group member, a very popular boy band, and unfortunately Super Junior, and he was actually poisoned during a fan gifting. She gave him juice which was laced with some kind of poison. He had to be rushed to the hospital. There was another,
the same thing happened to
Yeah.
the artist Bjork,
yeah,
where she
Yeah.
had an overcrazed fan who
Yeah.
loved her so much that he sent her like something in the mail where they were supposed to commit suicide together
yeah,
and stuff. It was supposed to kill her, and he was going to commit suicide
yeah.
because he loved her. He liked the image of her and everything,
Yeah.
but she was safe. But he was found.
I mean, I love Zendaya. Hi, Zendaya. But I mean, I'm not gonna do anything creepy like
Because
that.
I think
Because you're
it-
good. You're a good fan.
But I think it also goes back to the whole aspect of what the film is talking about, where they call it parasocial. It's a parasocial relationship. But for many of these fans, like, because I read these comments where they're talking about, and I'll go back to BTS since it's the group that I know the most, where
I
they're
think
like,
that's more
Yeah.
outreach for people
yeah,
too who know.
where it's like, RM, oh my God, he posted something today. Oh, he's looking so cute. Oh, RM, I hope you're. It's like but you don't know these people. You know the image that's being projected to you. But for these fans, and it's not every fan, there are fans that have stable minds, but for fans,
me.
where they're like on,
I don't
but
know about that.
Stop it right now. Well, I don't buy any merch.
like, and the fan that
You don't buy any merch.
What
Look
are
at the
you
shirt
talking
you're
about?
wearing.
This is a digital character, not a real person.
You have
Amanda, you roll up to the show in anime shirts every
yeah,
week.
your own merch. Look at your mouse.
My what?
can you turn your
This
phone
isn't a
on-
character though.
No,
That's
but
just
it's
a
still
picture.
merch. It's
But
still
I think
merch.
It's Logitech.
But I think.
it's cheap.
But the picture is merch.
But I think there's a
own
difference
merch.
between
There's
like
nothing
Amanda.
else with this image on it.
But I think there's a difference between Amanda level fan and like me mania.
I
who's, like,
am no. I'm
To be
just
fair,
not,
I'll
I'm
agree
fine.
with that
Amanda's
one. It's-
fine.
It's iffy on depends on the character.
You just do not claim you do not have merch.
And don't lie.
Oh no,
don't-
I'm not claiming I don't have merch. I mean, God forbid.
Honestly, go ahead. You can lie to us. You can lie to the viewers, but don't lie to yourself.
I have merch, but like when it comes to like live action, like idols dancing on stage, I don't have that merch. I
Fair.
like singers. I maybe buy like an album and be like, cool, awesome. That's it.
Yeah.
Or maybe like if they have an autobiography, like I love the Gorillas, but they're a fictional band run by like one or two people. And it's like the only thing I have is maybe I'll buy like an album because I like their CDs.
Amanda's picking with the kind of merch that she wants to invest in.
As far as like
But
live
but
action,
you still merch out. It's okay.
Yeah, no.
We're okay with it.
but I'm not gonna
We just
go
want
and
you to
buy
be
like
okay with being
buttons
okay with it.
and T-shirts with like "NSYNC" on it. No, that's not me. Real people? No. Animated characters? Maybe.
But so that's the other thing that I kind of want to bring up is the idol phenomenon is to the extreme, but in today's day and age, how things are, I don't think that obsession is
You don't
unique to Asia.
Oh no,
not anymore,
Yeah, no,
especially when the idol culture itself changes as to what we consider idols.
But like, it just like every celebrity now has like deranged fans everywhere. Like,
And social media makes it so much easier, like you said, to really make people think that that celebrity. Who's a celebrity I follow? Chris Evans. You see Chris Evans and you're like, oh, he loves his dogs. He's so nice. You think you know him. But, I mean,
But it's
I was
not
just gonna
sold in the same way.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
So what's different,
Agreed.
and I actually wanted to bring that up because if we're looking at this was a 90s, early 2000s, like
Right,
be watching
before
this.
the internet, really.
Before
the
anything
the
like
height
social
of the
media.
I found the this is the internet scene very charming.
Yes.
I really liked seeing an animated Mac. I was like,
But see, I was around, obviously, because I'm old, when the internet was very much a novelty. Like, I didn't...
Same here.
Yeah,
I
like...
think we all were.
I
like,
remember my
even
AOL dial-up speed.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I was younger, but like, I remember GeoCities.
Yeah.
I still have floppy disks.
Yeah. I had dial-up back in the day.
Oh, I had dial-up too. That was
I
fun.
remember when my mom used to yell at me for being on the computer
Kids
too long,
will
'cause we'd
never
have to,
know
like,
the struggle of dial-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But going back,
Remember AIM?
Oh, I remember AIM.
Instant Messenger? It was the worst.
Now we have
Terrible application. Just miserable all around.
I never had instant messenger.
I had it in night school to get past. I had to like bypass the computers in school, all that stuff.
But again, you could portray an image of yourself.
That's why we have now our idols today are streamers. Are like Twitch streamers, YouTube streamers, game streamers, especially even like the phase of what's called VTubers, which are called faceless streamers, where they hide behind the guise of an animated character. That one's a bit more easier because they can be that character and live their lives offline. But like, let's take people like Jake Paul or like Shane Dawson and that friend.
I don't know who those people are.
Okay. So you have
Popular
a lot of
YouTubers.
I'm not going to explain who they are, but people
Just
online.
like, just imagine like YouTuber in a derogatory sense.
Yes.
And you've got
Controversial YouTubers. But once we had things like social media with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., places where you could share your life. It's very easy to only want to share the best of you. I think it is also very human to want people to like us. And so the internet allows us to project an image. Like on Instagram's like I think the guilty pleasure one of that one is that you see images that are filtered to either enhance the natural beauty of something, to set a tone, an emotion, to show someone living their best life. They're like, I'm hiking with my besties. It's like, but what about the fight that occurred like 5 minutes ago before you took that picture?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's very easy to cut out the negative, but to insert the image of a best life, because we love watching reality shows where celebrities, or we love watching rich people do fun things we can't do. I think that's also another component. Yeah. So like when you see a celebrity, it's like, oh, he's got like Ryan Reynolds, like, wow, that's a really big pool. I want to swim in a pool.
That kind of just makes me mad.
Yeah. Sometimes it makes you mad, but for some other people, a lot of other people, when they see it, it gives you a glimpse of a life that you could have. And you feel like when you are able to comment on things, you feel more involved.
Yeah.
And so that's what these idols are doing, and that's why you have Mima, who, she was involved with her fans, and she projected that image, but now she's trying to break free of this childish persona to pursue something more mature and maybe grow out of the idol space, which is very common to do, but not everybody who was involved or feels like they were involved is gonna take it that way.
Am I old? Because I don't know who Jake Paul and I don't even remember.
You don't need to
Probably
know.
better off.
Yeah.
They're pretty like
You
like
can
I
watch
said,
a
they're just
documentary,
like
but not the Shane
just
Dawson
like
one.
imagine the worst YouTuber and
The
you're
worst
there.
rich
Yeah.
YouTuber who's now getting into sports. He finds any way to try to monetize himself. He's a good example because he tries to literally sell you a product every time, but
You even think about, since we're mentioning YouTube, and I'm
Welcome
sorry,
back.
Jeff.
No, you're
Thank
fine.
you. Thank you.
I'm
Sorry.
going off topic, so you go ahead with this.
By going off topic, do you mean you're going to be pulling us back towards the movie?
Yeah,
Okay, so
actually,
let's-
but like I wasn't
let's
on the
pull us
YouTube
back to the
track, and
movie,
I
so
want
let's-
you to
go
weigh
ahead.
in. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to mention about YouTube since we're mentioning basically how the internet, which is related to the film, how the internet opened up avenues for celebrity stardom. YouTube started off as a very different
point.
thing. Like when you think about YouTube celebrities versus the YouTube celebrities or personalities you have now, you know, even with music careers, there are a lot of like
YouTubers who got turned into
YouTubers who
singers.
have like very profitable and like really great music careers. And YouTube also opened up doorways for people who like there's a lot of like creative channels that are extremely popular. Like there's a YouTuber, she does nails. Her name is Simply Nailogical. Where she started as to where she is now, it's forget about it.
Oh yeah, and like there's a lot of like animators that got their start on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You can find a lot of good
Podcasters.
ones.
Yeah, so the internet definitely, it has that dark side, which this movie addresses the dark side of the interweb, but it has also that positive aspect as well. And as Amanda was saying about the people that hide behind like these avatars where they're able to have these two separate lives and keep them separate.
It keeps their lives more
Yeah.
anonymous,
Yeah.
which is nice because they don't want to share their real lives. They want to they want to be able to interact with people and entertain and
Well,
do stupid
the
things.
people that
but
control them want to be able to.
sometimes that's what makes Twitch streamers a bit more
Oh,
different. Is
I
that
thought we were talking about idols. Sorry.
they are modern day idols. To be fair, they start independently. They do their own thing. They have their own subs. They spend their own money to create setups, computers, mics, sound equipment, rooms, stuff like that. Eventually, I wouldn't say most of the time, but a lot of them do get picked up and put into like group homes now, which is all run by like either it's a business run by their friend and they want to like start like a group thing and have a share house, crazy adventures, or they want benefits now, so they join companies that are revolved around like entertainment groups. It's a weird industry that I haven't fully like understood how it fully works. I know it's just influencer culture though, is what that is. So, but getting back to the movie.
I just want to weigh in with my general thoughts. Yeah, no, this movie was really sick. Just awesome all around. Like
Sick as in good sick.
yeah.
Sick is
you know,
always
it's-
good. Yeah.
it just like, oh god, just the animation style alone. Like
agreed.
I saw a really good letterbox review of it from an animator, and he was just like, this is a small thing, but just how far apart everybody's eyes are. Like it
He
looks
knows how to
like
make
they
people
evolved
feel, yeah.
from like predators, and like that sort of just like like they kind of have shark faces, and it's freaky.
He knows
and
how to make people look grotesque.
Yeah.
Like every movie that I've seen, the girls always look mainly like really pretty, but then you get the men and they're like, their wrinkles are so pronounced. They look like they're melting. They're like giant globs.
teeth are all messed
Their
up.
teeth are all. It's a very diverse way of like character design. It's like not everybody's perfect. Not everyone's beautiful. Like in some like high school anime where they have perfect hair, teeth, and eyes. It's like real gross.
This is me being a whiny Luddite, but
Luddite?
I kind of like a lot of digital anime. I think kind of looks like crap. It does. And like a lot of it ends up looking very samey and like just very like shots just end up looking generic. And like with this, it's like no, this is hand drawn, and every shot feels so fresh. And like
It feels like there's so much love. that
there's
goes
like
into it.
genuine thought of like
I was
cinematography
just gonna say.
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Intentional.
From the tiniest details of
And,
her
like,
room, like she's got a PlayStation.
There's so many like cool camera moves in this where it's like, whoa, like you really got how to do a whip pan in animation.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Like
I also
That's exactly
I don't know,
what I was gonna. That was kind of the biggest thing that I was gonna bring up too. Was this was the first time I kind of remembered, or the first time it kind of stood out to me, like directing in an animated film, like the turn is that what it's called, a whip.
Yeah.
When it's going like around her face and you see like the other woman's face, like stuff like that, shots like that were just like I don't know, I never really noticed that kind of stuff before, but watching this I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing technique. Really just everything seeing her reflections and everything like that.
the reflections were so good. It was
unreal.
insane.
It really
did you
couldn't
notice
believe
in
that.
the first part of the film before you get to the concert that there's different like styles seen for like the advertisements?
Yeah.
The advertisements feel so real because they look so out of place. Like the anime style that he's presenting versus the anime style on a poster looks completely different versus like when you see ads in other animated shows, they look like they've just been done by the person, or they're just kind of like a vector image. He like the small details in Cone's stuff always like surprise you with how much like realism like goes into it.
I also really liked that, like, the perspective of the film, not objective in the slightest. You were seeing very
Different.
blurred between reality and fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
You never truly knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And, like, you couldn't get a base level of, like, these are the events that are happening. This is the dream sequence. Like, I think a lot of things tend to be like, oh, let's do a dream sequence, but make it very clear it's a dream sequence. And that's no fun at all.
Yeah.
Like...
A lot of misdirects as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Within the film.
And that's what makes like when things start going wrong. Like there's the one where she's on the train and her reflection like basically goes back to her old Cham outfit and she talks to herself and she's like, whoa. It makes like when you kind of get into her life in her apartment, when you're looking at her real life, or what is her real life, and when you see things like that, it makes you feel unsettled.
Yeah.
It's horrifying to look at. You're like, ugh. And it's like, what is that? It feels like a good Twilight Zone episode.
The only thing I did not love the Roomie twist. I don't know.
That's fair.
It felt
Roomie.
sort of like all right, this is fine, I guess, but I wanted something. I feel like it should have ended on something bigger.
Well, it's
Agreed.
interesting
And I
that
thought that it was, like I said at the beginning, I just thought it was too predictable. So by the time it actually happened, I wasn't because I was so into it, I wasn't expecting it to happen because I had anticipated it from the very, very beginning. Like within the first 15 minutes, I was like, she's going to be the one that's like, it was like a Selena and her manager thing. That was a little, I kind of agree. I wasn't
Well, it's
crazy
funny,
about that.
like watching it a couple of times. I I try to spot like where like I can start telling when, is when you start to figure out that Roomie is kind of behind everything. And I was taking a look at when you first see Mima in the first show she's in, and her one line thing is that she keeps telling the manager, like when they're having their sit down conversation while Mima's on the screen. Still a really good scene. And he's like, how's our little like star? And he's like, well, it's really hard for them to get like, idols, and this will determine whether she makes it or breaks it. And she's like, I still think we should sell her as a pop star. That's what she's always been, and that's what I think she should be. She wants her to go into a solo career, which can happen if you're good enough. A lot of idols tend to not actually have the talent to actually do it, which is kind of sad. But it's like at that part I wanted to believe that that's where it started, but it may have started way before we even knew, like before the events are seeing.
Her first day on set's when the letter bomb happens, right? So
Yeah.
I imagine that was Roomie. Like,
Well, it's weird
and
because,
she's been running the blog for God
Yeah.
knows how long.
And she's
Exactly, so
obviously
that's
the
why I'm
one
thinking
faxing
that
her.
it maybe started
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
before, and there's such a misdirection with the stalker, Mamoru, the creepy face, like, bleh, guy who loves her. Bleh. He's, like, really gross to look at, I'm not gonna lie. I have a picture of him.
He
I'm
kind
just
of
like,
looks almost like a toad.
he looks like a fish with a toad.
He looks like Steve Buscemi.
No, leave Steve Buscemi alone.
His eyes aren't big enough. He's got like these little fish eyes. It looks like a goldfish to me. But you think that the entire time it's him because there is the scene where you see him in the bedroom and the Mima comes up behind him. Like,
Yeah.
But that's just him reading it. It's like, I always watch Mima's room. I'm always watching Mima's room. And that quote should have rung throughout the entire movie, in my opinion. Be like, I'm always watching Mima's room, but just having it happen once, it's like, it's in your mind now, hearing the fans shout it out, and you're just like, there's a lot of good use of misdirection, especially with that scene and many others.
A small thing I liked. There's
Yeah.
like 3 guys who were just always standing around the comic book store or whatever, just ooh, hey, God, it just like, yeah, just a spooky little.
You're afraid
Greek
something's
chorus
gonna
there.
happen. And...
Not even something's gonna happen. It's just like, oh God, like these are ultimately the people she's trying to win over, and it's just like these guys are just jackasses.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think it also is that with a lot of these idols, like going back to the whole product thing, when they do slip, and I was thinking about like there was a lot of high profile, and just as like a trigger warning, I will be discussing suicide, but not a lot. I know it's a sensitive
This
topic.
movie
Yeah.
should also come with a disclaimer
Yeah.
because there are a lot of adult materials. So
Yeah.
I honestly recommend this for 18 plus viewers and with strong stomachs.
it's a rough sit. Just be aware.
Yeah, and in South Korea, there were a lot of high-profile suicides of K-pop idols. So one group in particular was a girl group known as FX, and one of the members, Suli, passed away due to suicide, and she suffered a lot of online abuse and bullying, but also because she was very outspoken. She sort of went beyond what was expected of an idol, because you're not really expected to have opinions, to be perfectly honest.
especially political.
Yeah, and she was very outspoken, especially about feminist issues, which is a hot button topic in Korea. People lose their minds if you even mention the word. And she was very big
In
proponent
America,
of...
we just lose our rights.
Yeah,
Well, way
Too
to go.
soon?
Yeah.
too soon. And one issue, like...
Too unfortunate.
Yeah. But she ended up taking her own life because of the abuse, the constant bullying, the online harassment. And I think I'm trying to remember in this film, you see that kind of element of the online harassment and the abuse. But yeah, and that's all
Although
I'll
it's
say
more
about that.
prominent in modern times because I
Yeah.
think one of the best scenes is when she first gets her computer going and she discovers Mima's room. And she looks so happy. She's like, aw. And then she like starts reading the diary and she's just like,
She's like, wait a second, this is
and
messed
that
up.
smile
How do you know
slowly
what
become
milk I
like
get?
a weird she looks like she's almost in a weird hypnotic
Oh
trance
yeah, no,
looking at it.
she walks around this whole movie like she's the living dead. It's
It's because
haunting.
the movie on its surface is inherently in. It takes from its source material, the book Perfect Blue, the complete metamorphosis is the full title for it. Where the book was meant to just be a commentary on the dark side of the idol industry, and stuff like that. But Satoshi Kon flipped it up on its head a bit, and made it more about this identity-stricken, like what's real, what's not. Is the Mima that we're seeing real, or is it the pop star? Who is she? What are we doing? And I think the scene where she sees the diary and her one line is like, "Who are you?" isn't part of like the next scene, and until she repeats it, but it's early. And I think that rings true to kind of how she's feeling in that
Yeah.
moment. Like, that's not me. Who is that? Or is this what I would be if I was still an idol? And you see her crawl back to looking. The internet opened up a lot of possibilities. I'm not going to lie. You can look up how your friends are doing, and if they're doing great without you, it's like, who was
Good for
that?
them.
Who am I?
Oh.
Which, good for them,
honestly,
yes.
what was it? Was the group still called Cham after she left?
I think they
They had some bangers after Mima. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really digging the songs with Mima, but afterwards I was like,
But
all
that
right, this kind of goes.
but that happens a lot with a lot of these groups, especially Because and I'm assuming in Japanese groups it's the same thing. How they have the face member, the center member, who tends to
You have the
be
leader.
like the most good-looking or the most aesthetically pleasing one. You have the rapper. Like you have
Nima had a bow.
assigned roles. But there are some groups
I
where
appreciated that because it let me know she was the main character.
yeah.
She had a bow.
But there are a lot of groups where they're not doing too well, and then one member leaves, and it's like, oh, they explode and they do so well. If I think about the American group, and I don't know how many of our listeners know, but I'm sure you do. Destiny's Child.
They
Oh.
better
Beyonce was a big part of that group. For those of you, I hope you know
She's, like,
Beyonce.
the most important member.
But the
She's
problem,
the most important person.
but that goes to
Queen
high,
Bee.
I know, but that goes to my point where it was like, and unfortunately, I can't even remember the former members.
Kelly
before.
Rowland.
No, Kelly Rowland. I know. I'm talking about
Can't remember
after
the
Michelle, when they whittled down to 3. There used to be more than 3, and I barely remember the names of the other members.
I'm surprised you knew the other 2 names. That was impressive.
I only know Kelly Rowland, and I don't know the other one.
She just said it.
Michelle.
Michelle. You don't even know her last name. I like that it was like Beyonce, and it's like Kelly Rowland,
But
and then Michelle.
But the same thing happened with a lot of our groups, and I remember it caused a lot of turmoil within the group because Beyonce was being the one pushed forward.
It's like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
and-
well, it was true. Like within Sync, it was always Justin Timberlake. With the Pussycat Dolls, it might as well been Nicole.
You know, I wouldn't even compare Pussycat Dolls. Literally, they came out and she was like the only one singing. There were like 2 singers, and then the rest were like backup dancers.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
there
I
was,
don't
like-
even know who
Weren't
any
there
of
like
you are.
12 of them? Like that was.
They were trying to bring out the next big like girl group because we haven't had one in forever. And when boy bands started becoming like, NSYNC was coming back,
Yeah.
potentially they were like, "Ooh, now's a good time to start
Okay,
bringing them back."
This isn't really
Jonas
an
Brothers.
idol group, but there's a rap group in the UK called So Solid Crew. There's like 20 of them. They have this insane song called 21 Seconds where each of them gets to rap for 21 seconds. It's so
That's a
good.
long song. Jesus Christ.
But my point is that going back, my point was that with a lot of these groups, 1 or 2 members may be pushed, and the other ones, like I used to call like Nicole and her backup dancers, because that's what the Pussycat Dolls were. And it doesn't mean
Who's
that
Nicole Lambert?
It's
What?
not Lambert. It's Scherzinger.
Scherzinger.
Singer or something Scherzinger.
Yeah.
She's the leader.
She
of
was
the
the hot
Pussycat
one
Dolls.
that got to dance with. Who was in the ones?
I don't know
Snoop Dogg.
anything
She got
about
to
the
dance with
Pussycat
Snoop Dogg.
Dolls.
But that caused a lot of problems within the group. And one thing I've always been curious about, and I want to hear your opinion too, because this is about idol groups. Why in this country, the era of like the boy band girl group, I mean, I know we still have them, but it's not as big as, I feel like in previous decades, there really was that rise where you saw these things. And now it's almost as if it's not so much the
Culturally, I
case
think
in this
sounds
country.
change.
Yeah, I think just sounds have changed a lot, and like we don't really have like a major like this is the pop sound anymore. I feel
The
like
pop sound changes in the U.S.
Yeah.
because we have such a diverse, culture.
And I think it goes to
Diverse.
exactly what you're saying though. Like when those groups do come out, they realize like, wow, hey, Harry Styles is more talented than all these other guys. So, I think that has a lot to do with it.
But then
He doesn't
again,
like Harry Styles. You guys all looked at me like,
Oh
Harry
yeah, no,
Styles.
he's,
I mean,
he's
Watermelon
way better
Sugar is
than the other
great,
ones.
and
Yeah,
As It
he's
Was
the
is great, but
best.
As It Was is getting on my nerves because when I took a trip to North Carolina for like 5 days, and the radio station I had on, every like 5 minutes, As It
You just gotta get an off.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ. I was like,
Yeah.
at first I was jamming to it. I was like, yeah. And then by the second day, I was like, yeah. By the third day, Brian was like, turn that off. And I'm like, you know what? It is getting a little
well, it was like My Heart Will Go On with Celine Dion. Like first time was nice, second time was okay, third time was one too many, and they just played it to death on the radio.
No.
You don't think they played that song to death?
But
Doesn't Harry Styles seem like he'd be like fun to hang out with?
He's
Like on a Saturday night?
Well, if his
But that's the perception he's selling you.
exactly, he may be a douche, and you don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'd hang out with Harry Styles.
Yeah, right?
If he invited me to a house party, sure.
I don't
Be like,
I would
hey
deny
mate, why don't you come
many
by and
celebrities
we'll
that
play
invited me.
some pickleball or something? I don't know.
Pickleball. No, he's got the what's the big sport? The cornhole.
Cornhole.
Cornhole. But he's got like 12
Yeah.
12 cornhole fields. Whatever that is. He didn't even know it existed. So, anyways, back into it. What else did you guys like about the movie? First impressions.
All right, so I really I liked everything. I loved that I didn't know what was going on. I loved that it was intentionally misleading. I thought it was really brilliant. Can we discuss the ending?
Yeah.
Because there is some, from my diligent research, there seems to be some controversy over what that last line means.
What was the very last
It's
one?
yep, I'm the real one or something to that
Yeah.
effect. Yeah.
So I guess in the American line, it's the actress that's doing Mima.
Mima,
But in the original Japanese one,
which I have.
it's the actress that's doing Roomie's voice.
Really, I didn't notice that at all. I watched
Yeah.
it in Japanese,
Yeah.
but I didn't. pick
That's
up on
that was what that's what I
Look
read.
at Lewis with his research.
So there's half the people that say it's more of just Roomie's delusions, and then there's another half that say no, it's actually just a happy ending, and a happy ending that's well earned because of all the stuff that she went through.
I took it as just a happy ending.
Yeah.
I did not notice it was a different
Well,
voice
that's what
actor,
makes it so much fun to watch,
Yeah.
since you have the duality between fantasy and reality of the movie, is that you're always going to have a different outcome. Some people are going to view it, and since you did the research and you said that it's Rumi's voice, that's very interesting to know because of the fact that maybe what we're seeing, maybe we're still only seeing this through somebody else's eyes. Maybe that's a quote from the blog that she wrote.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of there. And maybe that's Rumi reading it since Rumi was the one behind everything.
Yeah.
It's like maybe it could very well be Mima herself. And that's just a quote that resonated with her, and that's why they had the voice of her in the U.S. one, or it's either that or the U.S. just didn't know what they were doing. But
I think it's
which
because
wouldn't be unfair to say.
I think it's also because with the U.S., and this was something I was reading about, like when you look at Asian horror movies, how in the U.S. you have to know what is going on. Like it's every step of the way. It has to be very clear and concrete. With Asian horror, like they don't give you all those clues. They're basically expecting you can follow along or you can't. Like one good example is with what was the
To be fair, I think good movies here do that too.
Yeah.
I was
They don't give you everything.
But there was like
That's a
I
good
remember
movie.
reading
That's a good
that
psychological
argument
movie. They don't
about
give
the
you
difference
everything.
in storytelling, like American storytelling versus Asian storytelling, like Asian horror storytelling. Well, it's not always like a clear-cut answer. And I'm kind of curious if the English dub chose to have Mima's voice because they wanted you to clearly say, no, this is the real one, where the Japanese one was sort of letting you, well, is it really her? Is it like maybe they wanted you to have that open-ended kind of way of
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
what
of course.
what
Never
trying to
actually
say.
watched Perfect Blue in the English dub because the first time I had ever seen it was in Japanese, so I always associated it. And early 90s, like early 2000 dubbing was still really good, in my opinion, but at the same time, scripts do change for localization factors. So there might have been the decision. I don't know. I'd have to look up because a lot of times they have to. America in the 90s and early 2000s, when it came to scripts from Japan, were literally like, just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
At that point, and that's what makes it really hard to be like, unlike Evangelion, where the director was very close with the voice actors that were picked and how the script was to be written for the American audience, because you do have to localize because a lot of things in Japan might not translate well to the US. We won't understand, it'll go over our heads.
Even just like how the language is written, like a lot
Exactly.
of subjects are dropped of sentences.
That's
and
why
like,
there's
it's
always controversy.
It's difficult.
Hence why like Evangelion, Netflix did a new dub.
Which is really bad.
Yeah, they
It's
took out a
re-
lot
it-
of
and
the
it-
original script.
Like,
And Kaoru's lines are completely different,
Yeah. which
which makes me angry because I have a belief and they changed it. And I was just like, what is this? So I refuse to watch the dub for several reasons.
And the last thing that I'll really bring up
Yeah.
in my diligent research, I did find a lot of the Aronofsky stuff that we talked about.
I was gonna
Yeah.
bring him up later, yeah.
And I guess he gets a lot of flack for it,
Yes.
but I can see why you would want to emulate this. And I
well,
you know,
he did actually put a scene from
from Requiem. It,
Yeah.
like just
I have the
Yeah,
scene
and
right there.
scene in the bathroom. The scene in the tub is like shot for like it's exactly it. But that's I
Black Swan told a
watching-
story that was basically Perfect
Yeah.
Blue, but with ballet.
watching those though, and having seen those several times, I and watching this now, I can almost see him doing that as a way of like he loved Perfect Blue, and it's an homage to that, and it's an homage to this director that he loved. I don't see the stealing that some people
He's
are.
pretty upfront about his inspiration from
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
so
said
like,
he didn't take any inspiration from it. He literally, I looked that up too because I was like, oh, movies that, because I know when it came to Inception, it was inspired by Paprika, and they were not afraid to like say that. So I was like, I remember Black Swan because it's one of my favorite movies, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this was inspired. But when I looked up, like, you know, when it was, they were like, Aronofsky says that he wasn't inspired by Perfect Blue.
Oh yeah.
He goes on the record. If you look it up, he literally was like, no. I looked it up like a couple times, and they were like, Aronofsky says no, he didn't take inspiration from it. But I'm like, although it's like funny though, considering he remade a scene by scene, the bathtub scene in Requiem to look just
Yeah.
like
and
it.
the article that I saw, I mean, he was saying that when he saw that he was so blown away by it that he wanted to somehow get that into Requiem. Like
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty open about that.
I have no issue with homage as long as they're upfront and just like,
Yeah.
no, this is what.
Yeah,
this is
no,
what
like,
was
I
taken
love a
from.
good
Check it out,
homage.
please.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think every director pulls from inspirations that they've seen in the past and everything like that.
And they want to recreate it, and I think that's a beautiful thing, especially like when you're used to seeing it animated. Considering this film is supposed to be live action, it's like it kind of gives you a glimpse of what it might look like.
I did see
If they did.
there were later live action adaptations
we don't
of the
talk
novel.
about 'em.
Yeah, I've heard they're
Oh,
not
really?
very good.
Are they?
Yeah.
They're not good.
They're real, but they're not good. By a lot of fans, they're like, it's not good. A lot
Yeah,
of
there
people are
was
fans
a
of the book and fans of the movie.
in the early 2000s and a TV show, I think, in the 2010s.
Both
So,
called Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is hard, I'm not gonna lie. And Cohn actually had no interest initially in making this film, which is what makes it even more mind-boggling that it looks like he got so into
Sometimes
it.
for hire gigs just
Yeah.
lead to really good artistry. I mean, like Coppola didn't really want to make The Godfather. Like,
And yet it still
Yeah.
looks like he put his all into making
oh
it.
yeah.
Instead
would
of
say
just
so.
being like, just throw it together and do this right here.
Yeah, once he was on the project, he was like, "All right, let's get to work." And
go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna throw out a movie with similar themes that I think might be fun to tackle on the podcast. I don't know if you guys have seen
I
it,
love
but
watching movies
I
like
mean,
this.
Mulholland Drive.
I've actually never seen Mulholland.
What is that?
Really,
Yeah.
it's a David Lynch film, early 2000s, and
Mohammed Drive?
Mulholland
Mulholland,
Drive.
Mulholland.
With Michelle Pfeiffer, right?
No, Naomi Watts.
Naomi Watts. I
and-
knew it was a blonde person.
I forget the other actress's
Yeah.
name, but it's really a wild movie. It's so much fun. There's a lot
Billy
of
Ray Cyrus is
yeah. Oh, Billy Ray Cyrus is hysterical in it. Oh my god.
just looking at it.
Justin Theroux's in it, and he's also gives the funniest performance of his career, I think.
You can watch it on Amazon.
It's but yeah, no, it's an amazing movie. Yeah, and it deals a lot with blurrings of reality and fantasy, especially in the context of acting. This takes place in Hollywood, though, and yeah.
Which is a perfect setting to have,
Exactly.
especially for young stars looking to get their start. Sometimes you have to change who you are in order to fit the industry.
And Naomi Watts plays a very like gee whiz sort of girl.
Innocent.
Yeah.
Which we see Mima also go through
Yes.
here. Two more things I kind of wanted to touch on. Did you guys notice, like, if you guys, I assume you guys really watched the movie. Like, you guys are, like,
Yes,
invested. Did
of
you
course.
guys notice the colors used throughout the film and how they changed and how they were used to frame?
Oh yeah, things definitely got way murkier towards as it went on.
It got more
like-
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the scene where the strip club scene, which is by far one of the reasons why this film should have a disclaimer on it. It is fake, but it is a scene.
It
But the lights
certainly did not feel fake.
It did not, but she
No.
was a good actress.
Yeah.
Wasn't she?
It was certainly. It
Or
was,
maybe
it
it
was,
was real.
It was 100% uncomfortable.
It was very. It was. I think it was made to make you feel that way because you don't know if it's real or fake. But she's acting. But is she really acting? Is she screaming out how she's feeling?
It was
But,
very, very well done.
Yeah. So like the colors start off kind of pastel-y, very kind of vivid and bright, kind of like giving the innocence like a fluff color. It makes you feel fluffy.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows you her. But as the movie tends to move on, you have the lights of the strip club scene that kind of show you she's now framed and she's different. That was her metamorphosis scene, was that she is breaking free from the innocent Mima. If you notice, her outfit almost looks like her old Cham dress, and she breaks free of that one. Of course, it's a strip club scene, so she's breaking out of it. And she's evolving, and the lights are all on her and framed. But as the movie goes on, the colors become murkier, as Joe said, and they also become more intense. Like the reds become more violent.
Oh yeah.
So, and also, I don't know if you realized, another way that Satoshi Kon added some realism to it was if you watch the dance sequence when Cham comes out, they're not in perfect unison, or at least Mima isn't. So it gives you the sense of more, because in a lot of anime now, you can just kind of digitally put the same, model there, and you can just draw over it and have them do the same dance move, and they all look like they're perfectly in sync. But when you're watching dancers in real life, whether they've practiced for ages and ages and ages this one stupid routine, they're never going to be perfectly in sync. So if you go back and you watch it, you'll notice that they're not perfectly in sync, and it's almost off-putting to see it that way. And you're like,
Interesting.
oh, it feels real, because this was the beauty of like 90s hand-drawn. We don't have hand-drawn anime anymore, except for the last known one that I know of was Megalobox, which was a boxing sci-fi anime. Really good though. But there are no more hand-drawn anime anymore, or animation for that fact. That it doesn't exist because now we're all digital. Hand-drawn is a thing of the past. They threw all out the
I think
window.
there's still some hand-drawn stuff coming out.
It's not as
just
prominent
independent.
as like when Perfect Blue, because
Yeah.
everything is like hand-painted via like hand-painted, not digitally like like that. It's more, it feels like more love kind of goes into it. Not saying that digital art can't have love into it. There's a lot of creators I do follow that do fantastic work, and it's just awesome and gorgeous, and they know how to shade really well. But it doesn't really compare to the painstaking, careers that hand-drawn artists for like movies like this had to go through.
And I think, it speaks volumes to kind of what we've been talking about, everything being done intentionally. I remember it was towards the end, there's like the red, green, and yellow flashing lights or something behind, I forget which scene it was when something was going on, but there was very noticeable. The colors and everything were very noticeable. And I didn't notice that about the dancing at the beginning. But it makes sense. And again, it goes back to saying that, and why this movie really is brilliant, because everything was done with purpose and done intentionally and done with meaning. Can't say anything better about it.
So, for those looking for things on this level, we do carry this movie in the system, although I think that we might try to get our own copy here. The books, unfortunately, the book that this is based on, unfortunately, has not been picked up by a library, but it is available for people to read online or for your own personal collection if you want to. I highly recommend it. I do have it. Black Swan is a beautiful movie to check it out, even though the director says it wasn't an inspiration. It clearly was. It's a beautiful psychological film. I love that movie. I don't know if there's any other recommendations you guys want to shout out for stuff like this.
I mean, I threw out Head and Mulholland Drive earlier.
If you haven't seen Requiem for a Dream, it's older, but
I'll throw out another David Lynch, Inland Empire. Some very similar themes to this, and it goes very far, though. Just be aware that movie's on a different plane of reality.
as is to be expected from David Lynch.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting having Lewis go from one animated film that he hated to.
Oh yeah, I mean this was a complete 180. I mean
we
it was,
promised you a good one.
Yeah, I was like after Bubble, I was like, this is just garbage, and we go from maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen to the best,
really
one of the best.
volumes, man.
Yeah.
It's like the worst. I'm like, I'm over here, like, I've seen some really bad anime films and just shows in general. And you're just like, Bubble's like the worst thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That might be. It might be. It was terrible. I hated every minute of it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
But
that
it led
we
to a
turned
great
it around.
It led to a great conversation. So I loved that.
So that means we have to get Lewis into more Satoshi Kon
Yeah.
directed stuff, which we also have here. We do have Tokyo Godfathers. Bleh, sorry. Shame on me for that one. Millennium Actress is a beautiful film if you enjoy theater. I highly recommend it. It is not as dark as as maybe some of his other stuff, but it is still a very, very well thought out, beautiful movie that's gotten a lot of buzz lately. So, with that, unless there's anything else people want to say,
Thank you for the introduction, guys.
you're welcome. And come talk to us anytime. Let us know did you guys watch the movie? Are you gonna watch the movie? Now that we've talked about it in all its deep intricacies.
Were you going to, but now you're never going to watch it? Let us know.
Have you seen it, Zendaya?
Chris Evans. So let us know in the comments below. We want to hear what you guys think. Especially me. I love this movie. And we can 100% guarantee that these are our real personas.
Yeah. Sure. I guess. I mean, when I'm hungry, I'm a completely different person.
And with that, I think we'll say goodbye to you guys. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. See you next week.